Oh, hi. Good morning. Welcome. This is going to be the first video that we go through, and I want to talk about kind of the structure and my expectations for what you'll be doing while you're doing these videos. First thing is you're going to be taking notes with me. So grab a sheet of paper, make sure that it's a lined one, looks kind of like mine. There should be somewhere in the classroom where you can find it. And you're going to make sure to write the section title up on the top. I like to come in with this already written so that you don't have to sit there and watch me write it, because you'll do plenty of watching me write, and it's one less thing that I have to do. Now, another thing I'd like you to do is, now I don't always do this on mine, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but please put your name on it. So I'm going to put my name, Mr. Dan, and this is because if this gets lost, or I find it on the floor, or if it ends up in someone else's binder, we kind of know where this belongs. Because remember, you will be turning in the notes as well as the homework. They're both very important. All right, so now I've got my name on it. I've got my first important thing. Got my title. My second important thing. Now I'm going to start to take my notes. And I'm often going to go over definitions, and I'm going to talk about new things, because every chapter kind of incrementally builds small new words, new tricks, new tips, so that we can get better and better at math as we're going. Make sense? So, as you might have suspected, in this section we're going to be talking about patterns. And this patterns is going to kind of be our key. It's going to be our key for our whole first chapter, because in fact our chapter 1 is called Algebraic Thinking, and it's going to be looking at this thing called algebra, which is not nearly as exciting, or not nearly as difficult as it sounds. Not very scary. So remember, the rule goes like this. If I put it on my page, you put it on your page. And you can maybe make your drawings a little bit nicer. Maybe you can write in a different style. But anything I put down, or anything I underline, anything I circle, my expectation is that you do it as well. Okay, we're going to take a look at a numerical pattern. And that just means that it is a sequence of numbers that follow some kind of rule. And the key is often that we need to figure out this rule, and that's how we're certainly going to be starting. Now, we have a couple of different kinds of patterns that we can look at. We have ascending and descending patterns. Let me spell this right, because it's kind of weird. DSC. Oops, and I'm off. Ascending, we can kind of look at this with this Greek root right here. And it kind of means going up, or in this direction. So an ascending pattern means a pattern that the numbers are going to be getting larger. And it usually means that we're going to be using multiplication or addition. Descending pattern, again, if we look at this, descending means going down. And it means that I'm going to be getting smaller. And it usually, it's going to be using division or subtraction. Okay, so how this typically goes is that I will usually kind of do some notes like this. Once I finish with my notes, you'll be able to tell, because I'll start to go into examples. And I typically start by writing my examples like this, and I would write example 1. Now, usually I'm gonna want you to write that first example down so you kind of get the idea for what I'm talking about. You kind of know the words that I'd like to use. And usually after the first example, I'll do 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the difficulty of what I'm doing. Now, you do not have to go through all those examples. All that I ask is you do the first example. However, if you do the first example and you're still really confused as to what's going on, maybe do some more examples and go back and watch. What's really nice is because this is a video, it's still going to be available for you after you go away or go back to your work, or you can even rewatch it again or watch those extra examples. Sometimes in the math homework, you'll do one thing in the beginning, you'll switch over and you'll do something else. Usually then I'll have one example be the first easy bit, the next example be the medium part, and the final example be when it's more difficult. So I encourage you to watch the examples if you need to, but also not to waste your time and don't watch them if you feel like you already understand them. Okay? I hope that makes sense. For example 1, I'm going to take a look at this pattern, and I'm going to be taking a look. Let's see. We have the numbers 243, 81, 27, and 9. The question is, what is the rule? Okay, so first I might ask myself, are we ascending or are we descending? Well, my numbers are getting smaller, so that I am descending. That means I'm probably going to be using division or subtraction. And I can look at these numbers, 243 to 81. That's a huge jump. That's a jump of like almost 200 down. 81 to 27, that's a jump of like 50 down. So I'm probably not going to be using subtraction because there's not something that I can subtract from both that will get me the same result that I'm looking for. So that's a clue that I'm probably going to be using division. So that means I'm probably going to be dividing something over and over to get to each number. Let's see what I can divide 243 by to get to 41. Now, I can also use my phone, which I really like doing because it gives me a calculator that I can grab and use much easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, let's see, what 243 divided by what is 81? Let's see if it's divided by half. 243 divided by 2. It's 121.5, so that's definitely not it. Let's see, 243 divided by 3. Oh, that's 81. Let's check the rest of the pattern and see. 81 divided by 3 is 27, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So our rule here is divided by 3. And when I like to do my answers, I like to put a box around them. It makes it very, very clear for me to do. Now, in this section, you're just going to be writing the rules for all the answers. That's it. I'm probably going to do 2 more, but if you feel like you understand it, go ahead and go on. Example 2. Let's take a look at this set. Sorry, finding one that I like. Let's take a look at number 1. Now, sometimes we might have to do 2 things to get to the rule that we're looking for. So this time we're going to look for this. So let's take a look. Are we going ascending or descending? Well, our numbers are getting larger, so that means this is going to work. So I'll be able to, I know that I'm likely going to be using multiplication or addition or some kind of combination of those 2 in order to get where I'm going. So let's see. If I were to look at adding, I would add plus 3 to get there. 7 to 13, that's a plus 6. 13 to 25, that's plus 12. 25 to 49, that's plus 24. Interesting. I'm noticing that these pluses are doubling. Let's see. Is there something I can multiply 4 by to get 7? Yeah, there is, but it's going to be a big giant decimal. So it's likely going to be something that I'm going to need to do a combination of things in order to get to my next number. So let's look at 7 and 13. Let's see. Well, what I could do here is that if I multiply 7 times 2 is 14, and 14's almost 13. So if my rule was multiply by 2 and then subtract 1, that would work for 7 times 13. So my rule could be times 2 minus 1. So let's see if this works for the whole group. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 1 is 7. Oh, that does work. 7 times 2 minus 1 is 13. 13 times 2 is 26. 26 minus 1 is 25. And 25 times 2 is 50. Minus 1 is 49. So sometimes we will be doing 2 or more operations as well. So that's something that I should keep in mind while I am taking a look at these. Let's take a look at one final example. This one, let's take a look at number 1 in our homework. Looks like this: 1, 6, 21, 66. Okay, so we are ascending. Let's see, so I could add 5. 1 to 6 is plus 5, but 6 plus 5 is only 11, so that's not right. What if it's times 6? 1 times 6 is 6. And then 6 times 6 is 36. Oh, that's too far. 21 though looks like kind of like a 7. What if it's 6? What if it's times 3 or plus 1 times 3? Plus 1 times 3. Oh, plus 1 times 3 would work. Plus 1 times 3. Because 1 plus 1 is 2, times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7, times 3 is 21. 21 plus 1 is 22, times 3 is 66. So sometimes we just kind of have to look for these things and try to figure out my rule. So my rule here is plus 1 times 3. Okay, go ahead and good luck.